Okay, moving in our guide to page 37, step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Karen, would you mind start the reading on page 85?
Yes. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no request for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. If circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination, which requires a definite morning devotion, we attend to that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, or rabbi. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves that we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly, as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works. It really does. We alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined.
Thank you, Karen. Definition of prayer: an earnest request. Definition of meditation: to contemplate, ponder. Definition of consciousness: conscious, aware, alert, awake, known or felt by one's inner self. If you notice what we do at night, it says when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Do you guys see that? Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Did you notice in step 10 what it said we do during the day? On page 84, it says, we continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. That's what we do during the day. And then in step 11 at night, it says, we ask ourselves, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? They're in a different order, but that's the stuff that we were supposed to be doing all day. This is like checking on ourselves. How did we do? And then it says, do we owe an apology? Well, on step 10, that part that we just read, it says, when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately. We make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Now it's asking us, do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? See, it's like a review of how we did with step 10. So that's what we do when we go to at night, when we retire. We look back at the day and say, did I remember to do my 10th step all day? And if I didn't, where did I not do it? And then if I realize, you know what, I didn't do my step 10 very good, I did have resentment, I didn't ask to have it removed, I didn't ask God to remove it immediately, I didn't make amends quickly. But we must be careful when we're making this review, but we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review of how we did with step 10 today, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. And when we go to bed, go to sleep, we don't stay up all night worried about it, morbid reflection. It's praying and meditating. You know, you hear praying and meditating. Praying is talking to God and meditating is listening. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know this is what I do. This is the stuff to do. Then it tells me what to do in the morning. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. I got to tell you, I can get pretty skimpy with this, but there's one thing I rarely forget to do is this one thing. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking. That's a pretty simple thing that doesn't take very long, to ask God to direct my thinking. Especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, and self-seeking motives. What I think self-pity is when I look at my day and my plans for the day and think, oh, this isn't fair that I should have to deal with this today. That's self-pity. Self-pity is when I'm making a judgment that the circumstances of my life today are not okay. Instead of accepting the circumstances of my life and living this new life in those circumstances. That's pretty simple to ask. Divorce my thinking from self-pity. It helps me if I understand what I'm asking for. Yeah, that deal. Accepting everything exactly the way it is. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. I'm reading in the guidebook here. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask for inspiration, an intuitive thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come if we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. I'm telling you, during the day, facing indecision, the problem with me asking God to remove to help me with indecision is I've got to admit I'm having indecision. I might be stuck trying to decide what to do for an hour before I realize I'm stuck. But once I do, if I ask God to give me an intuitive thought or a decision, and if I relax and take it easy, it does amaze me how it works. It does, after I've tried it for a while. Okay, JR says that it directs us to pray only for knowledge of His will for us and power to carry that out. That's pretty simple. It's not asking for circumstances. It's asking, what do you want me to do next? In the moment now, this one day at a time, living now. I'm His instrument. What do you want me to do now? You know, one of the reasons we can get wrapped up in the world is everybody starts telling us how we should be afraid of the world because look what's coming down the road. You know, that was some of our resentments on the board earlier today. Our fears of what's coming. If we truly live now and ask for knowledge of what He wants us to do now, that sort of solves that whole deal. What other high point am I missing? Okay, Pete's talking about the last paragraph on page 38. Want to read it?
Yeah, in the workbook. It says, any method we can employ that will help us connect with our unsuspected inner resource will be in the spirit of step 11. God consciousness will provide all we need in order to live life that He assigns in a powerfully effective manner. So it's almost like there's not a set of rules to set 11. It's you know, there's a lot of methods that we can employ to connect with this inner resource.
What about this? As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. I'm agitated and doubtful. I didn't even know that what I needed when I'm agitated and doubtful is the right thought or the right action. I thought I needed to fix something, but it says I need the right thought or action. And that's something that I'm asking for, we ask. Then, it doesn't say that we pray for God to run the show, the next thing, does it? It says we constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. Humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. Now that's an interesting thought. This isn't about praying for God to run the show. This is reminding ourselves, hey dude, remember you did that third step? Remember you did that seventh step? And He's taken you through that door. Remind yourself of that. And then, of course, it says what to do when we face indecision. We ask for inspiration and intuitive thought or a decision. You know, I used to think that step 11 could surely be improved by, you know, some prayer books and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I don't know. I think all those things are good, and I use them. But really and truly, this is a design for living right here. It is a way of living, following this guide. What we do at night to review how we did on step 10, what to do in the morning when we're getting ready for the day, directed our thinking, what we do during the day, when to remind ourselves we're no longer running the show.